Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, there is a workforce evolution story that has transformed how most of us work. And we now all have an expectation that we should be able to work from anywhere, everywhere, and on any device. Remote working now means we can work at home, in a coffee shop, or even on a sun lounger by the sea, as long as there is a half-decent Wi-Fi connection. Because mobility now plays a critical role in enabling employees to be productive as the nature of work continues to evolve, given the pandemic and the current situation that we all find ourselves in. And I think for the most part, we all expect to drift from device to device in the same way that we can watch a Netflix show on the TV and then seamlessly switch to an iPad, a laptop or phone, depending on where we find ourselves, and just pick up where we left off. And of course, all that is incredibly cool. And the lines between the B2C and B2B world are completely disappearing because we just expect those same experiences everywhere. But as an ex-IT guy, what about securing that mobility? And how are mobile device management solutions evolving with these changes? Well, Joseph Boyle is a listener of this podcast, and he's also the CEO of Truce Software. And for those of you that don't know, Truce provides a contextual mobile device management platform so businesses can ensure safe and appropriate device use by employees at work or wherever they may be. And they also hold, I believe, a patent for that contextualization, whereby the solution can detect workplace events such as place, time, proximity to equipment, and adjust the user's permission accordingly, all in real time. Now, in February, they performed new research that gauged workforce sentiment on whether employees believe mobile devices enable or inhibit their productivity at work. And the report also looked at how workers' views of mobility have shifted over the past year due to the pandemic. For example, fewer people going into physical offices, and whether they believed increased usage is leading to more blurred lines between work and our personal lives. And anyone that finds themselves scrolling down their phone, trying to answer all those notifications 24 hours a day, will know what that feels like. So we have lots to talk about today. So this is the point where I say buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Chicago so we can speak with Joseph Boyle, listener of the show and CEO at Truce Software. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely, Neil. Excited to be here with you today. So my name's Joseph Boyle. I'm the CEO at Truce Software, and I've spent my career in SaaS and enterprise software. I've always been sort of captivated by the way that technology can be used to solve problems. And so, it's just always been a space that's really drawn me in. I spent the first half of my career in supply chain integration and supply chain automation. And then I've spent the last 10 to 15 years in workforce and workforce mobility solutions.
Before you came on the podcast today, one of the big reasons that I invited you on was after reading how you believe that businesses can most effectively ensure mobile devices are leveraged or being leveraged to their full capacity in the workplace while still protecting employees, assets and IP. But can you tell me a little bit more about that and where that came from?
Yeah, mobile devices bring tremendously new opportunities to organizations, but they also come with challenges that we've really not had to face with other types of technology in the workplace. And so we believe that to get that next level of device use at work where a business can enable true mobility, dynamic policy tools are really needed to take contextualization into account as the employee moves throughout their day. So to us, what that means is that, context allows business to solve for the need to maintain control, but in a situationally aware way. It takes into account the human aspect of mobility. That is to say, who's using a device at a given time? Where's that individual located? And what are they doing? What's going on around them? And how is their environment changing as their day goes on? And how does their technology need to adapt to those changes to make them as productive as they can be, keep them as safe as they need to be, protect the assets of the organization as are required?
And at True Software, you recently revealed research that gauged workforce sentiment on whether employees believe that their mobile device enable or inhibit productivity at work. And I know for a lot of business leaders and decision makers listening to the podcast today, that is a battle that everyone's going through. But can you offer a little background on the report and what the big takeaways from it were?
Yeah, it is absolutely something that all business leaders are coming to terms with. So we commissioned a survey of 1,500 working adults across the U.S. to get a temperature check on how workers view the role of their mobile devices on the job. We wanted to see broadly whether workers believe that their devices enable them or inhibit their productivity. And so we asked the respondents to identify the nature of their work as essential, deskless, meaning not office-based, not the way that we think about not office-based today, but those people who routinely go and do their work outside of the confines of the four walls of the company. Remote, meaning not generally based in a company location, or office-based, so that we could compare the worker groups based on those findings. And for us, one of the biggest takeaways was that 62% of the respondents agreed that mobile phones or tablets play a key role in helping them to be productive at work. And, look, we were pleased to see that outcome. I've watched the evolution from a front row seat as devices have gone from being sort of a nice to have perk for those senior level knowledge workers to really becoming an essential part of the workday for employees across virtually every industry at every level and type of work.
And I struggle to remember the exact stat, but the amount of deskless workers or people working remotely or working out there is phenomenal. I think it's more than the office workers out there. And it's something that we often forget. But the report did look at how workers' views of mobility have shifted over the past year alone due to the pandemic and causing the nature of work to evolve for so many people listening. So can you expand on the findings around that and how people have adapted it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, understatement of the last year, right? Yeah. The pandemic has definitely impacted work and the workforce in countless ways. But you're absolutely right. We tend to think about the workforce as those people who routinely turn up to an office every day. But I think one of the things that's definitely shifted is as organizational leaders are looking at what it takes to really enable and empower those team members who are typically in an office and now need to be remote. I think it's opening their eyes to what more they could be doing for those team members who are consistently out away from the office doing their work. And so as we conducted the survey, what we found specifically pertaining to this is that obviously workforces are relying more and more on mobility. Over 40% of the people that we surveyed said that they're working more than they were a year ago, and that the majority of them saying that those mobile devices and tablets are playing a key role in helping them be more productive at work. Not surprisingly, those same respondents also said that the mobile devices are helping them to accomplish that heavier workload. So, over a third of them have said that while the workload has overall increased, their usage of mobile technology has increased dramatically as well. So, you couple those aspects, the longer hours, heavier use of mobile at work, it comes as no surprise that most people surveyed noted that they believe that the lines between their work life and personal life are increasingly being blurred. 46% of them indicated that was in fact the case, with almost a quarter of them saying that they wish they could find ways to strike a bit of a better balance there.
Yeah, and I think that's something that will resonate with just about everybody, because I think when working from home, so many people will overcompensate, and it almost feels like the days of just clocking off at 5 p.m. are long gone, because you feel pressured to reply, will it be 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the evening? But I'm curious, did anything in the report surprise you at all?
It's a great question. I was a bit surprised that we didn't see a larger respondents of people saying that the lines between work life and personal life were being blurred as the use of mobile increases. I frankly expected that to be a bit higher, and was surprised that only a quarter of them wanted to find a better balance there. It doesn't line up with what we see in other survey data, and it doesn't line up with what we hear as we're talking with our customers. What we generally hear is that these devices, these singular devices, they really do they go everywhere with us, and quite frankly, they're really the only piece of technology that we use at work that really does get used so heavily in our personal lives. So, we would imagine that balance continues to get higher as it gets harder and harder to establish those sense of boundaries. And at Truce, we believe that those boundaries matter. That it's important that you're able to work when you're working and live when you're living, and that's part of the fundamental premise behind Truce, is achieving that balanced, appropriate use of mobile devices across personal and work life.
And of course, at Truce, you guys provide contextual mobile device management, CMDM. So again, for those business leaders and decision makers listening, how does that differ from a traditional MDM solution? And can you bring the contextual element to life a bit for me? Maybe provide a few examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So, context is just another way of saying situation, right? Yeah. So everything in life is situational. What's okay for me to do on my device when I'm standing here at my desk in the office is maybe not okay for me to do on my device when I'm in a highly dangerous work environment where my eyes need to be on where I'm placing my feet, or what piece of heavy machinery or equipment I might be going near. And that's different even still from what I should be doing with my device on a Saturday morning when I'm at one of my kids' sporting events. That's really the nature of context or situational management. It's about recognizing that these devices really do transcend every aspect of our lives in a way that no other technology ever has. And so having dynamic policy enforcement and management abilities to be able to recognize those situations and automatically, natively serve up to me the things that I should be doing on my phone and take to the background or out of my consciousness or my ability to access those things that I shouldn't be doing. And that's really quite different from traditional MDM. So, traditional styles of device management were all very static, right? They were meant to manage devices that really didn't have a variety of use cases. They weren't transcending, these different types of environments. They weren't being used on the go. Nobody was powering up their laptop to take a quick glance at something as they moved through a high risk environment. That just wasn't a very real use case. But the combination of the form factor, the connectivity, and the fact that we're just so accustomed to using these devices brings about a different reality for how you how you effectively manage them in your workplace. And so, what Truce brings to the table is that ability to say, as the worker's environment changes, so does what they can do on their mobile device automatically and in real time. And so it gives the employer the improved ability to manage not just what's being used and by whom, but also where and how, while still maintaining complete respect for employee privacy.
And of course, working in the area of MDM and mobile devices, and I'm sure you're getting bombarded by a lot of clients with very similar sets of questions and a certain amount of caution. On the flip side of that, are there any tech trends in the industry or in general that particularly excite you at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that are happening that I think are very, very positive. I highlighted one of them a little bit earlier, and that was this sense that, or this reality that as companies are having to come to grips with how they enable mobile working and mobile productivity, it really is opening their eyes to what they can be doing better, certainly for those workers in sort of a temporary situation. But we're consistently seeing companies that have field-based workforces take some key lessons learned and say, hey, wait a minute, we've been missing some opportunities here to really better enable these truly mobile workers. So, I think that's a very encouraging trend. The other trend that I'm very pleased to see, and I think will continue to develop, is the role of privacy. Privacy for the individual and privacy for the organization's information. I think that these are both critically important aspects of technology and technology in the workplace. And I find it very encouraging to see that organizations are taking an active view of the role of privacy and thinking about how they can achieve all of the business outcomes that they're looking for, while at the same time really placing an emphasis on the privacy of their workers.
Before I let you go, I appreciate you're probably locked down and you can't reveal too much, but is there anything you can reveal about what's next for Truce and the kind of things that you're going to be working on?
Oh, I tell you, we are really moving quite quickly. So, we're focused on continuing to grow our business and expand the depth of our platform, both organically and through partnerships. We were just recognized as one of the fastest growing private companies in the Midwest by Inc. magazine. So look, we see that as a continued sign that we're on the right track as we look to accelerate our expansion and continue to help our customers advance the role of mobility across their businesses.
Love that. And for anyone listening that would like to find out more details about the report that we've mentioned today, or find out more information about anything that you're working on, or even contact a member of your team if anything particularly caught their attention, what's the best way of doing that?
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So best way to reach us is at our website. That is www.trucesoftware.com. And you can also do trucesoftware.com/contact. And we'd love to chat with you.
Excellent. Well, I'll add all those links to the blog post that will accompany this episode. I'll also link to the report as well, because there's some big insights in there. For example, 62% of respondents, I think it was, said that they agree mobile phones or tablets play a key role in helping them be more productive at work. And just that stat alone really throws in the importance of mobile device management. So I think it's a hot topic. So I'll put the link to that as well. But more than anything, just thank you for taking the time to sit down and share your story with me today, Joseph. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Love your podcast and really enjoy all the insights that I gained from listening to it. During the interview there, you may remember I struggled to remember a stat about deskless workers. And before the pandemic, I did speak to Zinc CEO Stacey Epstein, who shared with me that field service and deskless workers comprise anywhere from 72 to 80% of the global workforce. or about 3 billion people. And those workers, of course, can include field service technicians, hotel staff, utility workers, flight crews, warehouse staff, manufacturing, plant engineers, etc. But that was pre-pandemic. And now, of course, for the last 12 months, apart from key workers, most people have been working remotely. And I cannot thank Joseph enough for not only listening to the show, but contacting me and coming on here to talk about contextual mobile device management. That is why I record this show every day. And that invite stretches to every person listening, because I think we all have our own area of expertise. And I created this platform so we can all learn from each other. So this is your true calling. Email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com. Get me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, etc. That's at Neil C. Hughes. And my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. So a big thank you to Joseph for joining me on the podcast today. And an even bigger thank you to each and every one of you, wherever you're listening in the world. I appreciate it's a big ask throwing one podcast a day to you all. But I do invite you to do it all again with me tomorrow. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.